Hello, my name is Yasmin Euphemia, aka Sugar, and I'm here tonight with.
Hi, I'm Beverly. I'm your UK fluffy chick, and we are the founders of Support a Sis-Star Network. Right. And tonight we have a special guest with us, um, young man doing wonderful things in the community, and his name is Verral. Hi, Verral.
Hiya, you're right. Thanks for having me on today. It's really appreciated.
And thanks for joining us. So, Sugar, I'll let you start this one off because yeah, I'm gonna let you start because you was this light's been hiding under a bushel, and it was a bushel that you already knew was there. So I'll let you start this one off.
Thank you very much. The reason why she's saying that you were hidden under a bushel is because we've been running for a little while, and we wanted to have some special people on, and Beverly feels like I was keeping you a secret, but but
Uh,
it's not true. It's not true. I just know that it was a busy man, and we met up recently, and I mentioned it, and he said, "Yeah, why not?" And this is why Verril's here. So, Verrill, I'm not even going to try and explain to anybody um, what you're up to. If you can, first of all, tell us a little bit of your background and what brought you to where you are now.
um, so so I have a degree in graphic design. That's what I started in, and through graphic design, it got to a point where things wasn't working out well in terms of finances. It was difficult in terms of just not making ends meet. Sometimes having clients that don't pay you, so it wasn't stable. At the time, I had just got married, just had a new baby. So stability was the best thing to go into. So I went into education as something to start making money from as a full-time 9 to 5 and leave graphic design completely behind. Which then led me into this kind of education area where you're dealing with kids on a daily basis and your empathy levels are all up and down now because you're dealing with kids that are falling down, hurting themselves and whatnot, which can also bring on anxiety from a thought process of always having to care for other people. So I got into a really dark space anxiety wise, and it all came crashing down. I got married, had a baby, moved into a new house, all in the space of like a year. And it was almost like I had to grow up really, really fast for it to work. And that led me into being very anxious. So that anxiety kind of clammed me up inside. Um, wouldn't talk, would be really isolated, would do my 9 to 5 and then go home. And everything was fine, got myself back on my feet, had my second child, and life was good. And then lockdown hit and it brought all the trauma back from the previous time I had anxiety. Because now I was restricted and following them same patterns I was years ago. So I remember at key points during lockdown, I'd watch my wife drive out the area because she was a health visitor. And knowing that she wasn't guideline wise staying home, staying safe, it put me in a place where I felt like she was gonna pass away. I'd have to raise the kids by myself. Things would be a lot very difficult. And that used to get me proper emotional in terms of being stressed out and isolated once again, like I was used to doing before. And that trauma had all come back during that period of time being at home. I remember one time my Raquel, my wife, she I called her to check on her as I do throughout the day. And I sounded really emotional on the phone. She's like, "What's wrong?" So when she got home, she said, "Look, I know you're stressed out that, things aren't going well and I have to go to work and stuff and my safety and whatever. I understand it, but this emotional side that you're pushing out, it might put a mark on the children emotionally." And that proper hit home to me that if I kind of don't wake up and put my anxiety at bay, I can end up bringing in two anxious children into the world, which isn't good because the world we live in now, they need to be a bit more resilient than most. This new generation coming through.
Yeah.
So after that, she theoretically, if I was to put that into a sentence, my wife told me to man up, and that manning up basically pushed me into going back into my creative side, which I had left prior to going into education. And I started doing these YouTube channel with my daughter and my son. And all it was is based on bikes. So prior to lockdown, I used to be 24 stone 11. I'm sure you remember that when I was big. And it's the cycling that basically got me to the place of being small to where I am now. And I just went back into cycling again. That was one of the guidelines of what we were allowed to be doing. And I made the YouTube channel, and within maybe 4 or 5 months, the YouTube channel grew from no subscribers to just over 900 in like a couple of months. And then through me cycling all the time with my daughter and stuff, people were messaging me on social media saying, even though it's in difficult times and unprecedented, can I come riding with you because you look like you're still having fun? You don't look like you're isolated like all of us at home. So a bike group formed. We had 34 the beginning months of lockdown, and we're at a place now we've just got under 900 people.
Wow.
In my group. So the cycle group always was just a bike group that we would go riding on a Sunday, go to an occasional bike park, chill out, have fun, and then just go home to our families. It then turned into me having a conversation with one of my friends and said, look, we've all people that are going through a tough time. Let's help some other people. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, let's randomly do a homeless run. He's like, okay, I don't know what that means, but let's try it. So I messaged the group and I said, look, team, what are you lot thinking? Christmas, let's do a homeless run. They were like, explain. I said, let's take our bikes and we ride every other Sunday, put our backpacks on, fill the backpacks with socks, sandwiches, food, whatever, and let's just go riding through the 32 boroughs of London and just handing out stuff and helping people. They're like, all right, cool, let's do it. There's nothing else to do, so let's just do it. It makes sense to a group. And we did it. To me, it was just a bike ride that we were going to help people. And on that ride, everything was fine. I understood it's something that I subconsciously saw every day, what a homeless person looks like. So on the night, I was just helping homeless people. And that made sense to me until I got to Embankment and I met my first female homeless person. So I walked up to a tent and I said, hi, is anyone there? Can I help you? And I heard a female voice reply. And I stood there and I was like, what? Now, I understand that there should be no homeless people, but hearing a female's voice, I grew up in a single mom household. So to me, hearing a female outside with no safety just sounded bizarre to me. I thought it was absolutely crazy. She's unzipped the tent and she's looked up at me. She goes, hi, can I help you? I'm like, no, can I help you? Would you like some food or something? She's like, oh yeah. Now bear in mind, we're in lockdown, so there's no shops open, there's no taxis, no police officers really on the road. There's no airplanes going over, there's no traffic wardens, there's nothing's out. So she's like, yeah, can I have some food, please? So I've gone back to the cargo bike, brought her a pack of food, and I've given her the pack of food in her hand like this. And as she's taking it, her hands are shaking like this.
Wow.
Because she's cold. And I've said to her, are you cold? And she said to me, yes. Gone back to the bike and given her some gloves. As she's taking the gloves off me, she's literally taking the gloves in her hands like this and held them on her shoulder and laid into them like this. And basically like she's going to start crying. So I'm looking at her, I'm saying to myself, this is so wrong, man. Like, I don't understand how morally my bike costs just over £3,000. How can, I'm talking about a pedal bike. I'm not talking about a motorbike. I'm talking about a bike that you pedal to go to the shop. How can my bike cost this amount of money and this lady in front of me is crying over 50p gloves? It doesn't make sense. So I've turned to my bike group and I've kind of called them over. And this is me looking at a group of people that I don't really know. They've joined me through lockdown. And I'm looking at faces caring about other people all of a sudden. I'm not looking at a group of bike riders. I'm looking at a set of people who, for that one night, are caring for someone else. which is not to be expected from humanity at the moment.
Yeah.
So we're riding home, and everyone was like, "Oh, V, like we did it! Like we've given out all the food parcels and stuff." So we had like 150 parcels, and that woman's face just stuck in my head. So I'm riding from Embankment, got to Islington. Everyone's talking to me, but all I can see is loads of homeless people outside now. This woman's giving me a whole 360 on a problem that I've now opened myself to.
Yeah.
So got home. My wife's got to the front door. She's opened the front door. She looked at me. She goes, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Nothing." She's like, "Did you give out all the food?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Did you give out all the toothpaste and stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, but you don't look happy." I said, "There's nothing to be happy about." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Like, it's really bad out there. Like, it's really, really bad out there." So got into the front room now, and I'm looking at big Christmas tree, presents all around the front room, Caribbean household, meats being seasoned from the night before. There's loads of add-ons and trimmings and stuff. And I'm looking at all this stuff in the house. I'm saying, this is absolute nonsense. We've got too much. There's too much in house. This is on day one now. And I've just thought to myself, this is long. So through Christmas, I'm picking at my food. I'm eating, but I'm just picking at it. New Year's comes, and then remember the whole tier system nonsense. So it was like, we're going to have an announcement. So we had an announcement. And in the announcement, the Prime Minister at the time goes, "So we're going to go into another lockdown." I'm looking at the TV screen. I'm saying, another lockdown? These people on the street can't stay home and stay safe. They can't go use public toilets because they're all closed. They can't do click and collect because they don't have bank accounts. Where are these guidelines for these people that sleep nightly on the street? I remember going into my shed and ranting over the problem. And that ranting on social media ended up being just under 6K views in a couple hours, 4 or 5 hours. And the questioning behind it was, what's your next move? Literally through COVID, through lockdown, I literally went out every single night, driving in my personal car, looking for people, just literally with a boot full of sleeping bags and stuff. And just literally anyone who knew someone was somewhere, I'd under a bridge or whatever in Broxbourne, I'd be driving down there to go and help them, which is now escalating to more initiatives. So I'll do things like, I'll put like £250 behind a restaurant till, and I won't take any food for the day, but I will basically work out with that restaurant owner how many meals I can get with that amount of money, and go out and give these little currency coins. I don't know if I've got any here, but these little coins I give to a person who's finding things difficult, give him 5 or 6. He can walk into that establishment and get food on demand when he wants it. That will cater for his allergies, it cater for his religion, it cater for it being a hot meal as and when he's hungry. Because a lot of time we give people food, we oppress them because of our feelings. We don't know if they're hungry yet. It's led to me pushing for like Christmas presents when it comes to Christmas, to kind of help people. Like loads and loads of initiatives. And all these initiatives have been picked up with like Russell Howard, Ant and Dec, BBC, Department of Transportation, which is the government, came and filmed with us on the 23rd, which is just before Christmas Eve. So it's been a real roller coaster of changes to my personal self, which has now put my anxiety completely at bay. I don't have anxiety anymore. It's something I used to suffer with for years. I don't have anymore because I've realized that with anxiety, sometimes it can be very selfish in terms of it's your own thought process that puts you in these anxiety issues. But when you realize other people are anxious, it puts your anxiety at bay. So yeah, it's been a total roller coaster of emotion, changes to my personal life, loads of podcasts, loads of interviews, loads of initiatives. So another initiative I've been doing is with Barclays Bank.
Okay.
So I've been doing financial literacy workshops with them. So a lot of low-income households stay low-income households because they don't understand the banking language. So Barclays have been working with me and pulling me out to different cities. So they got me going to Birmingham on the 28th to do a talk down there in their Birmingham city branch, and then to do an outreach with their Barclay staff to go out on Birmingham Street to do homeless outreaches as well, which is good.
So let me
It's
ask
been,
this now. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you. I didn't mean to cut you. Because it just sounds, this is like, because you said all of this started during lockdown, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like not even 2 years, yeah. So this sounds like so much in terms of your personal, emotionals up and down, and all these initiatives that you started. So in the early stages of your cycle group community forming and distributing, where was you getting the stuff from to be able to support 900 cyclists?
It was my own pocket to begin with. It was, me getting paid from work and literally buying £100, £200 worth of stuff from eBay in bulk. I was looking for like when they had festivals where people were selling job lots of tents that they'd picked up. I was buying them. I was buying boxes of foil blankets. I was contacting first aid companies to see if they'll sell me foil blankets at a cheaper price. So it was all from me. It was all personal to begin with. And then it got to a point where I then went onto social media and said, can I have some help to get a van? And within 4 months raised just over 14K and got a van to help with what I'm doing. So my community now are very supportive, but in the very beginning, it was solely my pocket.
Yeah.
So did that like trying to think, okay, where am I going to get resources? Did that help to trigger your anxiety as well? Like at that time, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. It was, I think, but the thing is, I think the lucky part is because of the creative side of how my brain thinks in terms of the graphic design path, it was simple things to me say, okay, cool, I need toothpaste, but the toothpaste can't be big ones. I need the small ones. Where'd you get small ones from? They're technically samples. I just phoned up loads of dentists that were in Haringey and said, I help homeless people. This is what I do. Can I have your sample boxes? And we'll just rock up to the dentist and take 300 little toothpaste. I now had supply to help 300 people. It was simple increments that made massive impacts, which is most really why my movement has moved so fast, because it's looking at things that don't work and fixing them. I mean, I'm not even a charity. I'm not even an entity to say, I don't even get funding. I just do everything on my ones. I don't
my next question. Yeah, go on.
I don't like red tape at all. Me and red tape, it's the worst thing. I had a vicar call me in and we were talking. He was like, I want you to come and work with the church and whatnot. And we're a charity and we're this and we're that. And I said, okay, cool. So if we put this into a term that you'll understand, I said, when God asked Noah to make an ark, Noah's reply wasn't, where's my risk assessment? He just built the ark and moved. So for me, putting this red tape and reasons to why you can't do things, I just think is nonsense to me. I just pretend they don't exist. If I pretend my council don't exist and I pretend funding pots don't exist, why don't I just do it? So that's how I am, which has helped a lot.
Yeah. So now you've got this. So you said you got 900. I take it like it's not 900 of you just riding on the road together. You said you're spread out over different.
Yeah. So it's not even just cyclists, it's people. So what I did was I went onto social media and worked out that I had a lot of people from different areas. So I put a simple post up, and the post was so simple. What area do you live in? People were commenting and saying Broxbourne, Walthamstow, East Ham, Stratford. So what I did is I worked out if I could get 2 people from each borough, that's 64 people. That's 2 people for each borough. If I just put everyone in a WhatsApp group, and every time I get a notification for Broxbourne, I can just message a group, and that Broxbourne group can go and help them. Which helped me because I wouldn't have to leave the house as much, because now I have the whole of London covered basically from one WhatsApp group.
So before you had that, you was going to all the different boroughs yourself?
Yeah, I was going to all the different boroughs. I was driving, like I was putting some miles in my car. Because the thing is, there's nothing else to do in lockdown. So that was my thing. Like I was going on my Facebook lives. I was asking people to be my eyes and ears of the different areas. And that was it. Like community was involved, and they still are involved, and they are the structure for how this whole thing works. Because without people telling me that they've seen, like today I had a notification when I was at work. There's a person just in Tottenham with two massive umbrellas open just to block the wind from where they're sleeping.
You know,
Wow.
when you see it, you know, because like you say, it's a huge crisis. I don't know, you know, just like how we can see the people on the street sleeping. I don't know where the government people is that don't they see this? And it's like, in terms of finding a 100% solution, do you think that's even possible? Like,
It's possible until we as a society stop allowing politicians to use it as a marketing tool. So what you'll find is a lot of people who go into politics will do these empathy things, that they'll rock up to a food bank and get pictures, or they'll rock up to, I don't know, a domestic violence unit to get sympathy votes. That is beyond its marketing. Now, when we look at things like Sweep, which is a government run initiative that when it gets too cold or too hot, they bring all homeless people inside. Well, they do that because they know society now will slant them and say, why are you not helping them? So it's quote unquote, let's release Sweep. But we've got to remember that Sweep is only a guideline for each borough. It's not a law. So Haringey's guideline was call StreetLink. StreetLink can't deal with the amount of calls and notifications they're going to get through the app. So who actually deals with it? Because when Sweep already publicly said it takes them up to 3 days to go out to see someone.
what is Sweep? What is that?
It's severe weather warning, basically, of when it gets too hot or too cold, they bring everyone who's homeless inside to die of hypothermia or dehydration. But the be and end of it is like, with all these initiatives that are in play to get them off the street and to help them stay safe and whatnot, it's not possible, because at the same time, you know, if I gave you 100 grand and said, here's your funding for your organization, and you said to me, you're going to deal with the homeless problem, how do I gauge that you've actually done the impact work? Because these people who are on the street don't have a voice to say they didn't turn up on Thursday when they said they were going to. Who are they telling? No one's listening to them. But in terms of it being fixed, yes, it can be fixed. But until we again realize that people who are homeless can't vote. So the technicality of it is from a politician's perspective, that ain't making sense to them.
Yeah.
You know,
and especially during lockdown, most departments were closed anyway. Or
exactly.
You phone them and they say, "Oh, you know, go on the website."
Go online, yeah.
It just doesn't work, does it?
No, it doesn't. So for me, it's like all these initiatives. I mean, like, what it takes for homelessness to be eradicated. Two things need to happen. The first thing that needs to happen is that you got to be creative with the budget that you've got. So let's take a common sense thing now. The government turned around and said that they were going to release a budget of money to help all homeless people be off the streets during lockdown. Do everyone remember that? Okay. So what they did was they released money to the 32 boroughs. Now, this is a question I've got for you. If you have a hotel in Tottenham and you have a hotel in Westminster, what's the difference between the two of them nightly?
Well, the kind of patrons that use it, and yeah.
Yes. So in terms of cost, how much is it going to cost per hotel room?
Well, Westminster one might be, say, I don't know, £100 a night, £100 a night, up to £200 a night, and the Tottenham one, I don't know, a low base one, you could probably get £50, £60 a night.
Okay, so that's what they did. They left the councils to take that budget of money, that funding pot, and work out how many they could help nightly within their own borough setting. Okay, so the common sense thing now, this is the creative side of working, is if you got 32 boroughs, let's say for instance you got 10 boroughs, you got 10 grand to spend. Instead of giving a grand to each borough, knowing that Westminster and Hackney's pricing's different. What you do is you take the 10 grand, you don't give any boroughs any money. You phone the tax office, which holds all the records for all the businesses, and you work out in the hotel sector who would have been paying the most tax for that financial year. Would have most really been someone like Travelodge or Premier Inn. Now, on top of that, Premier Inn own all the hotels nationwide. They've got hotels in every single borough, and they had to be closed for lockdown. So the clever thing would be hold the 10 grand you got, phone up the tax office and phone up Travelodge or Premier Inn and say, we're going to give you a tax break for this year. We're going to give you 10 grand into your account now, plus your tax break. We're looking at about 18 grand. Take the 18 grand, and their contract now is to house all the homeless people nationwide. It is so easy.
But
it doesn't, there's no creative side to it. That's the problem. So when you turn around and say there's articles where you've released 3.2 million to try and to give homeless people e-cigarettes, what kind of nonsense is that?
because like in my area, because I'm in Broxbourne and there's a hotel nearby and it's been shut down for how long? And I mean, I don't know much about politics. I don't know much about certain social things, but they now use the hotel, but this is a different sector. So it's not homeless. They're housing refugees in it, but they've raised such a hoo-ha. It's like for what I see of the local community chats, they sometimes with certain things, they prefer to just see the building just sitting there.
Empty,
than it being utilized to help sectors that need the help.
I mean, do you know what? I think one thing I will say to that is that everyone's going to learn soon. Everyone's going to learn soon. And you know what everyone's going to learn soon? When the crisis really hits, you know who's going to be the best off? It's the people that never had anything to begin with.
Because they're used to not having anything.
They're used to not having. Everyone who's going to be in a couple years time, God forbid, if this doesn't sort itself out, people who can't have Sky anymore, or people who can't go and get Flora butter anymore because they have to use now the brand that's in the store, they're the ones that's going to be hit hard the most, because that luxury life is going to be so difficult. It's the people who have the baseline and are used to scrimping and scraping and getting electric and gas on their meter, or scrimping and scraping and buying food that lasts and ration for a certain amount of time. It's not that that's the way we're supposed to be living, but that ethic of making money stretch,
and the resilience,
they're used to it. They're resilient to it. It's the high end yacht boat people and all them type of people where the cost of things are so advanced now, it's not working. So I mean, and it goes back to scenario of why I say it is, I remember driving down to Broxbourne specifically and meeting someone who was under a bridge, who lit one of them metal bins to keep warm. And I said to him, "Oh, hi, I've come to help you." He's like, "Okay, what have you come to help me with?" So I gave him some stuff, and he looked at me, he goes, "Brother, can I ask you something?" I said, "Why?" I said, "What's up?" He goes, "Why is everyone wearing these things on their faces? What is this?" I said, we're living through we've got a pandemic." He goes, "What pandemic?" I said, "We've got I have a COVID pandemic." He's like, "COVID? What's COVID?"
Wow.
It dawned on me, no TV, no radio, no public spaces for him to read anything, no newspapers. He didn't know nothing what was going on. We're talking about 8 months in.
Wow.
And it dawned on me that he was living, even though he was living in difficult times already, he didn't have that added mental stress of what was going on. He was just getting on with life as it was.
Yeah.
Best he could.
And it really does dawn on you. And that's where the questioning came to me. The things that we allow ourselves to think about rent-free all the time, it's too much. And it's almost like you need to declutter and let things and thought processes plan out instead of you trying to plan out what you think is going to happen with them. And ever since that, it's been a constant weekly reminder of what I need to do, when I need to do it, how I need to do it. but it's not about me anymore. I've got a whole. I look at, even though I don't have to, I look at the poverty line as my problem because I've been through it in the past. I've had situations in the past where Uncle
Things
John,
at
for
the
instance,
time.
has had us at his house. Uncle Ma, my auntie Marsha, my uncle Derek. I've been Auntie Marie. I've been at houses, going from house to house at a young age because of difficult times, and it's through this whole thing. It's brought the element of bringing me that trauma back
Mm.
for me to make the changes and not forget where I come from.
Mm.
And I think that's what stemmed this situation to be bigger than it is.
Mm-hmm.
That I forgot about that trauma when I was younger and not having that bedroom for like 4 years.
Mm. Sometimes I feel like people just have to go through certain things so that you have that internal what because your empathy levels,
Empathy.
yeah,
Mm.
because you've been there, you
Mm.
can more. It's
And
not like
feel it.
someone just seeing it and talking it and they don't know what it's really like.
Well, they see it, but because they've never felt
Felt
it,
it, yeah,
they're not going to have any empathy with it. In
that's it.
fact, they're going to make an excuse why that person's on the street. They have to be a drug addict or an alcoholic or somebody that's terrible. That's why they're there. Not that they're a human being and they've been through some hardship that has brought them there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why you touch on a good. That's why you touch on a good note as well, because if we take something like Guinness, Guinness is worth millions. Okay, homeless people didn't keep Guinness at a net profit like that. It's people that work, that have an income, that will buy drink and whatnot. All this, the whole alcohol industry and the whole even drug industry, it's not kept afloat from people who don't have money. So
Basically.
if the biggest consumers of those entities or those areas are people who have money, why do we shun the people who don't have the money but still have access to it? You know, from a simple perspective and a simple analogy, when I used to go to my granddad's house, God bless him, my granddad would always watch Clint Eastwood. And what I remember from Clint Eastwood is every time they used to ride the horses and go into the desert when it was cold, them lot used to pull out their whiskey flask and sip two drink and bust a fire and have a chit chat while the horses are linked up. Now, if I bring that analogy into 2023, are we?
Yeah.
Yep.
What are whiskey flasks meant for? To keep you warm in the cold. So if a homeless person is drinking a drink in the cold, he's doing what he's supposed to be.
Yeah. 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 When you turn it around that way.
You know, we've all had a Christmas, a New Year's party, a birthday, a wedding, where a friend or someone in the family has turned into complete jackass and vomit up themselves or fell asleep or done something untoward, but they can mask that hangover in their house. When a homeless person is drunk or messes up themselves, they can't change their clothes, they can't sleep the hangover off. They just have to get on with it. And that's when they get shunned. So if I give you an Instagram post of someone who is a high flyer in a penthouse, full suit, two girls with hardly any clothes on them, with lines of cocaine in front of them, and he's snorting them, that's going to get 1 million likes because that's the top of living the fast life. You got money, you got the girls, you got the cars. Strip him of all his possessions and the females and the Lamborghini and the table in the penthouse and put him in raggedy clothes on the street. He's a scum of the earth. It's all based on persona and how you view someone.
Would you say you are at now? Hold on. First of all, does your network have a name, Verral? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, C86s is my network.
C86s.
Yeah, C86s, yeah.
Okay. So where are the C86s now in terms of where are you at?
Playing catch up in a sense because everything has come so fast. It's just getting my head around what needs to be done and that's it, really. I mean, for me, it's more a thing of I never plan ahead because I feel like people who plan ahead don't allow that creative part to happen because you're so plan orientated. You've got no time to turn left or turn right or even go backwards. It was funny because one of the journalists asked me a question, and the question was, "Where do you see yourself in a couple of years' time?" And my reply
That
was,
was going to be our next question.
You love asking about the years. I don't, but you're good.
I'll let you ask the question if you want to.
She loved other years, you see, and
No, you carry on. So he asked you that question.
Sorry.
What was your answer?
Sorry.
And my reply to him was, if a food bank says that they're going to feed 100,000 people next year, what does that tell us about the person? That tells us that that person is happy to know that there's 100,000 people in public that are hungry. It doesn't, it gratifies numbers. It doesn't gratify a solution. So for me,
what we need is a solution.
Yeah, so for me, it's more solution based. If my answer to where I see myself in a couple of years' time, I don't see myself anywhere. I hope this isn't something I have to do. I hope it's something that I can just put to bed and find something else to do. But until the problem is still here, and we do have people that are still sofa surfing, or people who can't even afford to have food in their cupboards for their kids, I've still got work to do. So for me, it's getting their voices heard. That's paramount. I know I can't end homelessness by myself, but what I know I can do is force homelessness and poverty to be topics of conversation that society have forgotten about around the table.
Going back to, because when I was listening to your opening monologue, so let's call it that, and because this is another issue that people don't touch on, and it's the anxiety, and male speaking about the anxiety. And I mean, nowadays you hear them saying a bit more, but you being so open and expressing all of that, bravo, yeah. And obviously, I mean, we're in our houses and we have our anxieties, and we have access to technology to find information on how to cope and deal with it. But people on the streets, because obviously their situation, oh yes, they might have a level of resilience that they just get through every day. But have you yourself come across a lot of anxious people on the streets not being able to cope with their anxiety?
I think that's hard. I think it's hard to say because with anxiety, you're either someone who masks things a lot, where you put a new mask on for every person that you meet on a daily basis because you don't want to have that confrontation, or you think this person's a bit sketchy, so you put that mask on. Hi, how you doing? And you're always happy with them, but
you've got an image to maintain.
You go home. No. So I think for me, it's a thing where that engagement with someone on the basis of going out and seeing them, you're not around them enough to know what their masks are like.
Okay.
So you can't really gauge where the anxiety part stands. And I think it's only a couple of occasions where I reoccurringly go back to the same person. I've got a select few that kind of we conversate because they've got phones and stuff. And you start to gauge a better picture of what their masks look like, and you can kind of interpret how to help them resolve these emotional problems that they've got. But it is difficult because you kind of go away. Even the Christmas ride that we did, we're riding through London. Everyone's preparing their Christmas stuff at home and done their Christmas shopping and whatnot. And you know that between the 23rd, which is the Friday, everyone is at home until Bank Holiday Monday, Boxing Day. No one ain't coming at their yard unless they're commuting to go to a family member. So you know that you're that last group out, handing them stuff, giving them resources and stuff for that freeway window when no one's coming out. It's going to be basically ghost town again for them for that 3 days. No one to ask for help, no one to ask for a cup of tea or any change, because even the shops are going to be shut.
Yeah.
Which hits me every time I do it at Christmas, because I know that last pair of socks or last pack of biscuits I gave out is going to be what they've got.
That's all they've got.
Yeah. And especially like in the winter time, because it's so cold. And then we had the snow, and they're out there having to sleep in that. It's like, wow.
Yeah, so that's where the sweep comes in, where they kind of knowing, you see, like how your empathy level will be raised because of the snow and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want people to be saying, what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? So they release this severe weather warning nonsense, and then they kind of push it underneath a mat because they're doing something about it technically. But have you ever gone up to a homeless person when they release sweep and says, has anyone contacted you? They'll turn around and say to you, no. Because from a social media standpoint,
who signposts these people? How do they know about all these organizations and stuff to be able to go and
especially after
they won't know. This is the type of nonsense that gets on my nerves. A food bank will promote that it's open on a Thursday and a Friday evening, yeah? But how do people who are homeless know that these food banks are open?
And even know that they exist?
Exactly. So that same food bank, majority of them won't go out at nighttime, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and give them a leaflet and say to them, come to the food bank tomorrow at this time. Just social media.
Social media that they don't have no access to because they have no devices.
Phone.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's the same instance as a charity shop. You know, I've got this hat. Let's say, for instance, this hat was, I don't know, French Connection. So it's an £80 hat. I don't want it anymore. I decided to bring it to a charity shop. I've brought it to a charity shop on the basis I feel like someone else can have a couple wears out of this before I throw it in the bin. But this hat goes onto a computer, and they work out how much that hat retails at £80. So they half price it for 45. What person who's in need can have a £45 hat? We're not making any sense again. You know, homeless charities like Shelter and Crisis, okay, guideline, voluntary work was allowed during lockdown, right or wrong?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that all of your charity shops across London couldn't have opened their doors for click and collect on a click and collect basis to allow homeless people to walk into your shop and take out all the free jackets and hats during lockdown?
Even the stuff that you give to charity, right? Because I mean, sometimes you used to pass all the charity shops and people have dumped stuff outside and it just gets sifted through. But charity shops, am I right in saying they only keep what they can sell? Because I thought when you have a clear out and you take your stuff to a charity shop, they then distribute it to the need.
No, they only keep what they can sell.
No, and also they also have a 4-week collection from a textiles company that takes the textile material to make other stuff when recycled, and they get paid for that by weight.
Right.
The whole system is upside down, isn't it?
See, when you see them people standing at Sainsbury's with them buckets, shaking their buckets, collecting money, do you know how they get paid?
No. I thought they don't. I thought they just do it as a volunteer.
No, they get commission on the bucket.
Oh.
You're joking.
So that's why they're so edgy to be like, come on, don't. That's why they're so on it. They're on it because it's an incentive for them. The more people that donate is the more money they go home for that day on their percentage.
And that's why we have to stay away from organized charities, so to speak, because most of our money is going towards somebody having their second and third Caribbean holiday.
You know, the only way for this to work, and again, it's being creative. Society has a stigma about charities. I fully understand that. So what needs to happen is charities that are on like, I don't know, 1.1 million profit or net worth or 1 million status, they need to be classed as gold charities. Your entities that are under like 500 grand need to be classed as silver, bronze, and then grassroots. All your grassroots ones at the baseline are going to be what society wants to help. It just allows it to sift out the nonsense and to sift out the charities that need the help. I won't become a charity because I feel like me becoming a charity is going to give me this whole red tape bordering, and I can't function how I want to function.
Right, lots of guidelines you'll have to follow, and
Like when I first started, I thought to myself, yeah, I'm not going to say nothing about Haringey. I can chat about Haringey all day because the Haringey helped me do nothing. So it's totally fine. So in hindsight, it's one of them things where um I can set my own pace. I can do what I want. It's not about numbers for me. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you how many sleeping bags I've given out since I started. I couldn't tell you how many people I've helped since I started. I don't know nothing. I just know on a day-to-day basis, I get a notification and someone says, I don't have food or I don't have Easter eggs this year. Can you help me? And I'll go to the house and give them 10. But I won't know what that was. Help is not to be monitored, because what do we need numbers for? We need numbers because we want that kind of ego boost. Because I've helped 600,000 people today.
Yeah.
Nonsense. When you see a man or a woman do that, what is that based on? Because you're glorifying that 600 people were hungry. That scares me. Numbers scare me like that. So if I turn on and say someone gave me 1,000 pairs of socks, that's perfect, because someone gave me 1,000 pairs of socks to help people. But when I turn and say I've given out 1,000 socks, that's the part that scares me, because that stuff should be lasting a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
It's lasting a week, 2 weeks.
Wow. So do you accept donations and stuff from people, like goods and whatever?
Because even supermarkets have been, Verral's managed to get a couple of supermarkets involved.
Okay.
With donating stuff.
Yeah, so Morrison's helped me heavily. There's another property agents called N&N. They help as well. I've had so much help.
That's good.
So much help. It's absolutely crazy. So I stay away from people who do this whole thing of, I got some clothes at home. Can you come and pick them up because it will get some space in my house? That's all nonsense. That means you giving them to me isn't on the basis you want to help someone. You just want me to come and declutter your house. I'm not on all that at all. I'm not on it.
Yeah.
So once that sentence comes with these clothes that need to go, I've lost all interest.
Yeah.
It's a solving them problem, not a solving.
Yeah, that's not working for me.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, I mean, donations, yeah, they help, but I would rather you donate in seeing what I do and having that conversation with someone and saying, do you know what? Maybe we should take care of our own area, Maybe we should look after our people who are outside. Because still your people. Remember, every single person, doesn't matter what your income is, every single person, take 2 months away of not having any money in your bank.
I always say that you're just a paycheck from being that person.
And the question that's always asked, and I'll bring the question up, is how do I gauge who needs help on the street and who doesn't need help on the street? Here's a simple answer. If 1,000 people in England are on benefits and 200 of them don't really need to be on benefits because they're pretending to look after their parents, or they're doing drug dealing and claiming benefits and saying that they're not working, all that type of stuff. That's 200 people on a small scenario defrauding our government from benefits monthly. So if someone's outside and is asking for help, technically they're hustling and not actually defrauding our tax money. So in hindsight, I don't gauge who needs help from who doesn't anymore, because it's not my place to judge anyone. We've all had situations where we're short a tenner. We've asked our parents or a friend or a family for a tenner. If that person decides to go and buy alcohol or drink or whatever with it, what's that got to do with us? Our good deed's still done. They asked for help. We gave them a tenner. Why are we judging them on what we're giving them? Same thing I say to someone who's going to buy someone food. Why do you need to go into Tesco's to buy their food? You're already going to spend £3 to £5 on it. Just give them the £3 to £5. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah. Because you get people saying, "Oh, well, if I buy them the food, at least I know they're not buying cigarettes, they're not buying alcohol, they're not But it's what that person needs. We've all got
Exactly.
our own priorities.
Exactly. And the thing is that, again, if they buy drink or they buy cigarettes, it's not them keeping these organizations afloat with how much money in billions.
Yeah.
Well, when someone who smokes is stressed out, they go and have a fag, they go and have a cigarette break. When someone wants to go out for a night, they go and have a little tip or whatever. It's not an issue. But we're programmed to tell them how to live their life.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not even taking our own advice.
Mm. Well, I wouldn't, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, it's not about I wouldn't say living how to live their life. I would say they're judging how they spend your money, if that makes sense.
It's no longer your money if you've handed it to them.
No, this is what I'm saying. They probably say like say you have your children, yeah?
Yeah.
You have your children, and it's like, say you have your children, you give them pocket money, but then you want to tell them what they can spend their pocket money on. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like a semi-controlling factor.
All right, watch this. So here's an even better scenario. Okay. Everyone, all right, you ever heard of getting a TV on 0% interest APR, yeah? So you don't pay any interest, you got 12 months to pay it off, right? So here's a scenario. The World Cup just happened. Someone rocks up into Argos and gets a TV, 0% interest for 12 months. Yeah. That is Argos helping you out individually for 12 months, making small increments of payments to basically allow you to get a product you don't really need in your house, but you want it because of the World Cup, right? So you got a big TV on your house, on your house wall. If an organization can help you out to get a TV, right, that you couldn't afford in the beginning, mm-hmm. Why should we control someone with a fiver? Yeah. Just think about it. If Argos can give you that TV on the whim of you're going to pay small increments monthly, £100 a month to make £1,200 for the year, why you're happy with Argos? Because they're allowing you to take a product home that you can't afford at the beginning, have on your wall at £100 a month, but then we squibble of the fiver. Most households have 0% interest items, whether it be a car financed, whether it be a mobile phone that we've all got that are on higher purchase anyway because we can't afford the phone to begin with. Who's paying $2,000 for an iPhone? I'd rather take out a line rental for £40, £20 a month and get the phone. So you've got the phone, you're using it on a daily basis. That's Vodafone, T-Mobile helping you out, but we squabble over the fiver we give someone when we're giving handouts on a daily basis.
See, there's a connection there. The soapbox people, yeah. No, let me stop. I'm not joking, but no, you're making lots of valid points that, if people really, deep it and really think about it, maybe their perceptions and how they deal with things will be a lot different. So, we're just joking about it, but no, this is a serious.
No, of course, I hear you. I mean, that's my stance. My stance is to break down these kind of stigmas. That whole APR situation, again, is this whole thing of you walk into Nissan and go to get a finance on a car. If the computer says to you, no, you're catching a bus. So it's the thing of we can take on a daily basis because we've got credit. They can't take because they have no credit, no house and whatnot. So this whole thing of, in a sense, offering them help, but telling them the help comes at terms and conditions, I don't think it's fair. If you're going to help. Because me personally, if someone's come to me and says to me, what do you want to eat? And I'm not hungry at the time, or someone says, do you want a coffee? And I don't want a coffee. You're telling me I have to drink this coffee because someone's giving it to me now.
Yeah.
I had a person who's allergic to dairy. When I met him, he had about 100 sandwiches next to him. I said, why are you not eating them? He's like, because they got butter in them. I'm like, why are you not eating them? Because I'm allergic to dairy. To me, that was mental. So I gave him money and he went, what he did? He went in the shop and bought, them little, them salmon, not salmon.
Oh, you're thinking of the
sushi.
The sushi.
No, not sushi. He bought like this, it almost looks like sausage meat. but it's you can paste it.
Or like a pate.
He bought a pate and a loaf of bread. And he said, I got about 12 sandwiches there, mate. And he just literally slammed the bread in half. And just that was him. But all the sandwiches were all wasted. It's about 14, 15 pound worth of sandwiches.
Wow. Wow.
Because people don't even think of asking what.
No.
Yeah. I'm lost for words, but yeah. You know what I was trying to say.
Well, so that's where I'm at, man. You know, I got 2 kids. When I send them to school, I look at their allergies and what the classroom's allergy is. But as an adult, I forget myself and go out and see some reduced sandwiches in Sainsbury's. Oh, that looks like someone, I could help him outside. Why is he eating reduced products when you wouldn't? And again, this is the nonsense. Organization like Greg's or Morrison's or whatever will throw their stuff into the food bin.
Yeah.
And then people are being arrested for going into the bin.
Yeah.
And go in jail for taking sandwiches out of a bin.
I remember back when I was a teenager, I used to work for Mackie D's in the States. And because I guess you have the franchise ones and you have the actual chain ones. And like they when they're doing the breakfast changeover, they account for all the waste. And I remember I gave somebody an extra sandwich and I got reprimanded for giving it away because it has to be thrown away and calculated. And I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah.
That's
it's mad. I know.
Yeah.
And that's red tape. Red tape, in all honesty, half of the problems that all nations are in problems with now is because of red tape.
Mm-hmm.
Red tape, definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Majority of them.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's try and wrap it up now. So again, we've got Verral here doing massive things in the community, and your info in terms of, so do you take on more people to help?
Yeah. Anyone can join, and we don't need to be riding a bike, you know. Just have a heart to help people. And you're in. That's it. That's all it is, literally.
Right. So we'll share all that info. Yeah. Sugar. Right then. So yeah, Verral, thanks again for us having you. And yeah, just this is an industry. We don't hope to see it grow. We hope to see it shrink.
Exactly.
The awareness of the problem.
Yeah.
And finding solutions to the problems and people really getting involved in making a solution. That's the element that we would like to see grow. And continue doing this amazing stuff. Start coming from where you're coming from to what you're doing. It's amazing. And seeing that opportunity to do something. That's amazing. And yes, it's a pleasure to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry?
Is there anything else for you, Sugar?
No, we've covered it all. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's a wrap then, is it?
That's a wrap.
All right. And remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, join all the communities, and spread the word. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. Bye. Thanks, Verral.
Bye.
Bye.